All right, and welcome, Warriors of Sanctuary. We are going to get into the much awaited tutorial on our familiars. So I have taken a lot of time and effort to figure out the best way to present this to you because familiars are very confusing. I find that in my team, my guys, they have more questions about familiars. Myself and others have made so many mistakes when we misunderstood these originally. So, what I thought I would do today is I worked very hard to break all this information down. So, just stick with me. If you start to feel confused at any point for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, just bear with me through that moment because then the next bit of information I'll give you will really like solidify and you'll really understand. So, by the time we finish this tutorial, an in-depth tutorial on our familiars, you should understand everything you're seeing, how to do everything, how to make the best ones, all that. I myself recently just fully figured it all out and understand it well enough to teach it to others in a way that you guys can really roll with it. So I'm going to teach you every feature, what everything means. So let's get into it. And there is a method to my madness. So if I skip some things when I show one thing, it's because I will come back to that and we'll discuss it more in depth once it makes more sense, once we get to a point where it's able to do so. So what we have here, of course, our main thing here with our familiars is we go to Nisza here, and when we click on him and go to the summon familiars, why is it only giving me that option? What is happening? Okay, there we go. That was weird. So anyway, we go here and you see there's attribute exchange. We'll get in depth in that. You'll understand how to use that fully. And we have our contract shop and the tamed familiar shop. So contract shop will start here. This is the basics. So you can get 3 contracts for sure, buying them through Nisza every week. So this unlocks weekly, and of course battle pass points. It unlocks the contract when you get 120, 240, 480, and it costs 10,000 gold to purchase the contracts. So how else can we get the contracts, right? There's got to be another way. Sometimes the chest and things like that on your codex do give you contracts. Primarily where you're going to see that come from is it's going to drop from bosses and elite creatures as well. So that is a tip. So summoning familiars, as I said, this will all build into the full well-rounded thing. So we have our summoning guide down here when we go to summon. We can choose to skip the animation, so you don't have to sit through that animation by clicking and unclicking this here. So I keep it skipped because I don't want to wait through when I summon. It shows you in the top corner up here how many contracts you currently have. Now, if you want to get more contracts, all it offers is this. However, if you go here, you will see that summoning a familiar requires the familiar contract. You can purchase them or they'll drop from slain elite monsters or bosses. So that's why sometimes you get one at the end of a dungeon. Or if you want to go into an Elder Rift, whether or not you have Crest, and just run through and farm elite creatures. I'll do that a lot of times. That's the best way to farm elite creatures that I found is those Elder Rifts, because you get the elite creatures followed by a boss. So if you just run through, only attack the elite creatures as you're running through, then kill the boss, you do have a higher chance of, collecting some contracts over a few runs. So the important thing about your summoning contracts is you're only going to be able to summon ordinary familiars and form a pact with those familiars. And so we'll get into ordinary versus aberrant soon. So you can only get ordinary through here. Familiar species are just randomly selected with equal chances of getting each type. And then for specific qualities and probabilities, refer to the summoning guide. So a few basics there. So we look at the summoning guide and you see it's full of all these different things, right? So again, these are all your species and we will dissect these so you will understand everything you're seeing here. All right, so these are the basics. These are your familiar species. You have 9 choices. Each one of them has an equal chance of being summoned when you use your contract. With individual species, they favor certain attributes, which we'll get into. You'll understand that fully. There's attribute caps for each familiar type, and you'll see those in the table. So again, in depth, we'll get into that. We have for summoning purposes. Okay, that's why it says familiars are divided into 3 quality tiers: common, magic, and rare. That is all you'll ever summon, is the gray common, the blue magic, and the gold rare. You will never summon a legendary, but I will teach you how to make one later in the tutorial. These tiers also affect the traits that can be obtained by your summon familiar. Get into that. So basically our takeaway from this moment is our contracts. We can get those from Nisza. We can get those from elite creatures when we slay them, or any bosses that we slay. Sometimes in the codex, sometimes event rewards, but those are the primary ways we get our contracts. You're only ever going to summon the common, rare, common, magic, and rare. So, and then you have a 39% chance when you're using your contract to get a common. We'll get into the rest of what these skills things mean that it says, but just remember, common, 40% chance basically. You have a 50% chance that you're going to get a blue one, that magic one, and you're going to have a 10.44% chance that you're going to summon a gold rare one when you just use a contract to summon a familiar. So that's some base level. Okay, so that's important to know. Now, all of these things, what the heck does all this mean? Okay, so we're just going to discuss right now the first part of this table, where we see the name of it and we see its active skill. So what's important to know is every Varog that you ever get will have the exact same active skill. You see that here. This is Forest Wrath. Everyone will have it. That is the only active skill. Active skill. Important. Active skill. You'll see this hundreds of times in here. So the active skill for the Varogs is always going to be a damage skill. You see how it says right here, has a picture of its active skill, and then it says damage there, and then it says Forest Wrath. So if you click that, you see that Forest Wrath, what that does is it inflicts that for 40% damage to enemies that are near your target every half a second for 3 seconds. So this is a damage type familiar. So if you're carrying him, that's the active benefit you're going to get if he's your main companion or one of your 4 bonded. Again, get deep into that. Then we have our Skitterwights. He's also a damage creature. So you see he's got his active skill is the Ichor Blast. He is damage targeted. What is that? So he blasts that pool of acid. And that causes 72% damage to enemies, and that will also leave a toxic pool that will cause 28% damage per second for 6 seconds that enemies, happen to touch that pool. So that's our Skitterwight buddy. Now we move to Stormlost. He is our first control creature. So you see his active skill is Bolt Storm. Every Stormlost, Bolt Storm. You will see that emblem for his active skill, and he is control. So what does that mean? He makes a bolt storm that comes up over him, and it causes 44% damage up to 1 enemy. So he's only going to do 44% damage to 1 enemy every half a second and stun them for 1.5 seconds. That's what he does as his main active skill if he's the one you're carrying around. Quakestriders. Every Quakestrider has the same active skill, and this skill is an enemy gathering skill called Sand Vortex. So Sand Vortex, what he does is he gathers enemies. This is what I run with. He's my buddy. He creates a Sand Vortex, and that deals 144% damage to all the nearby enemies and pulls them all in toward the center, so you can kind of target them, like suck them into one place and beat them up, right? That's what he does. He gathers your enemies. That's why it says enemy gathering is his classification, and he uses the Sand Vortex. Every Quakestrider, that'll be what he does as his primary active. We'll get into the other ones. We also have another enemy gathering, and that's our Myrrjen, and he has active chains. So that's the emblem for the symbol for active change. He does enemy gathering as well. So he extends 5 aquatic chains outward, and that deals 130% damage all the way along their path. Wherever they shoot anything in that path, it's going to take that, and then it's going to pull your enemies back in and gather them for you. That's how he's going to help you as his primary active skill. We've got the Broodtalon. He is a damage creature. He goes with our damage buddies. So you see he's labeled as damage here by his active skill, and his damage skill is Flame Wave. So that arcs forward, dealing 225% damage to and leaving the ground burning. And this causes 25% damage per second for 6 seconds. And now we have our Ash Sweeper. He is a damage reduction companion, so he's going to help do damage reduction, but he also causes quite a bit of damage using his Rain of Stone as his active skill. Again, all Ash Sweepers is the only active skill they'll come with. And what this does is it triggers a rain of stone on enemies near the familiar, and that deals 115% damage and marks them. So what that means is anytime you have a skill that is going to mark an enemy, or an enemy has marked you, it creates this little icon that floats above the head of the enemy or yourself. You'll see this trigger a lot when you're in group events because someone's got a skill or one of these creatures or something like that that is marking things. And marking means that something's going to happen to you now that you're marked. Something's going to happen to that creature. They are marked now. So what's going to happen here is that the enemies that he is marking, it's going to reduce their damage by 20% for 3 seconds that they're inflicting on you. So that's what's going to happen. He also causes damage, but he also reduces the damage you're taking from those enemies. So that's your buddy, if that's what you want. Remember, there's just 9 species. It sounds like a lot right now, but stick with me. This all builds and you will learn to make the best familiars ever, understand it all. This is just the beginning, guys. We have Duskprowlers. You see he is labeled with his active skill as Spirit Shroud, and it is a counter attack creature. This is a counterattack skill. So what does that mean? He makes a shroud around you like a shield that's equal to 240% of your damage. So when the shield strength drops down to 0, it then explodes and deals 240% damage to all the enemies nearby. So he can target quite a few, he can protect you, and then attack the enemies when your shield expires. So counterattack, that's what he does. Then we have our Bramblestalker. You can tell he is also a control creature. We also had that other control creature earlier, remember? Control Spore Burst, that's his active skill. And this is going to disperse spores on 3 of your nearby enemies. So again, these control skills are limited. The first one was limited to 1 enemy. Now this one is limited to 3. He's going to do 3 enemies. He's going to seek them out, and he's going to specifically seek out the 3 closest enemies to you that have the least life. And then he's going to make vine cages. And after the vine cages wrap them for 1 second, it'll deal 160% damage to those 3 lowest life enemies around you. And then it'll damage and immobilize them for 1 second. And it takes 20 seconds to cool down before you can use it again. So those are our 9 species. So we have a control, spore burst. We have counterattack, damage reduction, damage, enemy gathering, control, damage, damage. That's our 9. That's what they do. So now you fully understand what these names mean and what these emblems. These are active skills that we just talked about. You'll see that picture, and every familiar will have it of that type. They only have that one for their active. Okay? Do not worry about ferocity, agility, insight, or resilience yet. Those are attributes. We will get into all this in depth. So that's what I want you to understand. So right now, we understand there are 9 species of familiars. They have a locked active skill that is the only active skill their species will have. Now we know how to recognize which one does what. This is in your summoning guide, which is located when you go to summon. So all you have to do is click the eye next to them, and you can click through them yourselves to remind yourself exactly. Because when you're actually looking at your familiar details and all those things, you are not going to see that 144% damage that the Quakestrider is doing. It's just going to give you a basic thing when you're looking at the familiars. This is where you see the actual stats for what they can do. Okay? These other things, we need to build some knowledge before we can even talk about those. Okay? So we're going to build some knowledge now. So basically, when it comes to summoning, we've kind of covered the whole summoning. We've looked at all the familiars, and we've looked at their active skills. Now, let's move into where we're actually going to dissect these guys, okay? So, you can see I have a Quakestrider. He is legendary. He is my primary companion. You do want to unlock all 4 of these bond slots with gold. Why? You benefit from these guys. You get to use, while you're running around, anything that you have as your primary companion or you have as your bonded, whatever active skill that they've got, they're going to work with you and for you by utilizing that active skill for you, and adding to your power, right? So let's take a little look. There's so many icons. What does it all freaking mean, right? All right. First thing, the familiars are in 2 types. They're ordinary and aberrant. How the heck do you tell the difference? Which one's ordinary? Which one's aberrant? How do we know? All right. Do you see when I select my guy right here, do you see this purple flag by his name where it says Quakestrider? He has a purple flag. Okay, let's compare him to this guy, the Duskprowler that's over here. Duskprowler has no purple flag by his name, so he is ordinary. Quakestrider, purple flag. He is aberrant. That is how you can tell if they're ordinary or aberrant. This Quakestrider, also aberrant, purple flag. Also, this Ash Sweeper, aberrant. You see the purple flag by his name? That means he's an aberrant. This guy, no purple flag, so he is an ordinary. No purple flag, he is an ordinary. No purple flag, this Duskprowler is an ordinary. That is what aberrant means. That's how you figure out which one's aberrant. Purple flag, little purple flag by their name. That's how you tell the difference between ordinary and aberrant. Now, we look at ordinary familiars. We can obtain these through summoning. You can buy them on the market. You can sell them on the market. Or you can purchase them at the Tamed Familiar shop. If you purchase them on the market or the Tamed Familiar shop, they usually always come maxed out at level 30. That's how you empower them to increase their level up to 30. They come with the abilities that their species favors. So remember those active skills. They only have active skills available when you first get them usually, okay? So that's your ordinary. Now, if you're aberrants, you have to do this through, you obtain these through conversion, which I'll teach you all about. You purchase them from your Tamed Familiar shop, which is from Nisza in that shop that he's got, or you can buy them on the market, and they are rare. These come with their passive and active skills already available on arrival, in addition to a varying number of common and advanced traits. And we'll get into all of these things. You'll understand all of these things perfectly in a moment. All right. I'll teach you all about this. So right now, because this is different, now you're going to get into actually working with things and creating things. So now it's saying that we have 4 types of familiars. Remember, for summoning, we can only summon the common, the magic, which are the common are gray, the magic are the blue ones, the rare are the gold, and the legendary are the orange. So you can't ever summon a legendary. You're going to have to make one. So common familiars, these guys, they have their active skills and attributes. Those are the gray ones. Those are going to be below 70. So remember, we talked about those attributes off to the side, right? So let's talk a little bit about that, because what we're looking at here, if we go to my familiar details and we look at this page, what it is telling us here and how it's breaking it down is, you see he's maxed to level 30, right? I used my Spirit Essence and I empowered him until he maxed out at level 30. Right below that row, we have this traits row for each one. Each familiar is going to have its own set of traits. They're up to 6. We'll talk in depth about those. This is just so you understand like what we're looking at when you look at their details. Then we get to their attributes, right? So we have ferocity, agility, insight, and resilience. Anytime you hear the word attributes in reference to familiars, we're only talking about these 4 categories, and you'll learn why they're important and what the heck those numbers mean and how you're going to use them. Stick with me. Then we have our skills overview. So now we have something that we're familiar with. We just went over his active skill, that Sand Vortex, right? All the Quakestriders. Here's a little Quakestrider. He's got Sand Vortex as his active skill. That is his active skill, right? We remember this, and we remember our Ash Sweeper. His active skill is that Rain of Stone, because, right, he causes damage and does that damage reduction for you. We have our Bramblestalkers. Remember, he's got that control one where he disperses spores, right? And then we've got our Duskprowler. Remember, that does the 240% shield and then 240% explosion. You see that here as active skill, the Spirit Shroud. So that's how that makes sense to you now, right? Now, the 9 types, they each have their own, each type has their own active skill that's always with them. They'll all have the same one. But what are these 6 other boxes? What is going on with these, right? These are our passive skills. So we have our active skills, the big fat one in the center, right? And then we've got our passive skills. These are passive. What do these do? We'll learn all about it. So for now, you see how he has got like ferocity of 36 out of 36 and that sort of thing. So you have your attributes. So that's how each of these is broken down when you open their screen to look at them, is you see their level, what traits this one has, you see his attributes and his skills overall. So that is what we're talking about when they say that a common one, that his attributes, they're going to be below 70. So if he's common, you're not going to see anything higher than 70 when you're looking at that attributes. Now, if they're blue, they're going to have magic passive skills, right? So common, only active skill. They do not have any passive skills. These 6 boxes of active skills, like, you know, but magic ones, they do. They have magic passive skills and they have attributes over 70, but they're not going to be on the max end. Remember when we looked at that chart in the summoning guide and it was showing the minimum and maximum of each type of attribute? So that's what we're talking about. The magic guys, they're going to be above 70, but below the maximum. And then rares, they're going to be your gold ones. They can have the gold passive skills, right? So you're going to see on here, like in the corner, when we looked at Duskprowler, he's got a couple gold skills, and then he's got those blue ones. The blue ones are magic, and the gold boxes are rare. Right? And so he can have some of his attributes that go above 120, but they're not going to be all the way to like the max limit, right? They're going to be between 120 to 170 typically if he's a gold. That's where you're going to see some of his attributes, right? Then if you make a legendary, you're going to see that they might have the legendary passive skills, and those will be like purple boxes with orange in them, and I'll show you that. Some of his attributes are going to be above 170, and he's going to have active traits. So what does that mean? So when we look at this guy, let's review what we just talked about, right? We have our blue magic skills, we have our gold, and then if we look at a legendary guy, you see he's got these purple and orange boxes. These are going to be your legendary passive skills. If they have the purple and orange, these are going to be your rare, the gold, right? So that's all that's saying. So now we understand the familiar classification in full, right? We understand ordinary don't have the purple flag, aberrant have purple flag. We know how to get them. The aberrants we can only really make or buy. And then the other ones we can summon, right? Ordinaries and things. So skills and traits. So now let's really get into it. I hope you're already forming a much better picture of the basics of the familiars and what some of these symbols mean, and we'll keep building now. Now we're really going to get in. You're really going to start understanding how to do everything. You're going to facepalm the mistakes you've made and rue the day that you did some of the things you did as we go through here. That is okay. Now you know moving forward, you're going to make great familiars. It's going to be fine. So let's look at our skills and traits. So each familiar has their own active skill they use in combat. Now that makes sense to us. We know what that means. Quakestrider, Sand Vortex, right? Myrrjen, they're going to have those aquatic chains. Varog, they're going to have Forest Wrath. That's what they do. That's their active skill. Each species has that single active skill, all the same one. Then we look at our passive and advanced skills. So what these passive skills do, these 6 other boxes, is they enhance the familiar's active skill, right? They gradually enhance its effects in combat when he's helping you out. His passive skills, why, those are divided into 3 levels. And those passive skills are magic, which are the blue boxes. So you're never going to see a gray passive skill. You're going to see magic passive skills, the blue boxes. You're going to see the gold boxes and rare passive skills are going to be on there, and legendary passive skills. That's what you're going to see. I'll teach you all about those. The more developed your passive skill is, the more stronger its effect. So that's only saying the passive skills, there's only so many of them that you can have, right? That are available to have. And if it's blue, it's going to be at 1 level. If it's gold, it's going to be a little stronger. And then if it is orange, it is going to be stronger, and it means more. As we go further into this, you'll see. So that just means they're going to assist you more. The better you've made that skill from blue or gold or legendary, that skill is going to be stronger. It's going to help you more. The first level familiars, which means when you first get them, they're level 1, you haven't empowered them yet. They're just going to have their active skill, but they're not going to have any passive skills. Those 6 boxes are going to be empty. There's not going to be anything in there. The passive skills will unlock as you level that familiar up. And so when you get it all the way to 30, you're going to have all 6 of those skill boxes unlocked now. It unlocks at various levels when you're leveling it up 1 box at a time until level 30, all 6 boxes unlock. Pretty simple and straightforward, right? They have their active, none of the passive. You empower them, get them to a 30. Now we have these 6 passive skills that have come into play. That's all it means. These are our passive skills. Boom, 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 boom. So we're on track. We know what this means. Now, what the hell do these stars mean? that are, each one has all these stars on it. You see each box, he's got 2 orange stars, and he's got 4 blue stars, and he's got 1 gold star, and he's got 5 blue stars, and he has 2 orange stars, and he's got 4. What the heck is going on? Okay, easy breezy. What do we have for passive skills? What are our options? Blue, yellow, our gold one, and our legendary, right? Our orange, our purple and orange. That's all this is. These stars just tell you out of the skills this guy has. It's telling you his skills. The stars are not a 5-star rating. This isn't an Airbnb. He is, that is just at a glance saying, hey, I have 2 legendary skills and I have 4 rare skills. Hey, at a glance, just so you know, I have 1 rare skill and I have 5 magic skills. Just the blue level. This one, hey, I have 2 rare skills and I have 4 magic passive skills. That is all these stars mean. That is what they mean. See? He's got 1 rare skill and he's got 5. And so he's got the 1 star. So these star ratings are not like, oh, because I upgraded him, now he has more stars. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. They always have 6 stars because they only have 6 passive skills to have. And those stars light up with color according to what the level of their passive skills are. So that's what your stars mean here. That's all they mean. Not a big deal, right? So now we kind of covered, you know, how you get them. You use Spirit Essence to level them up, basic. And then once you have them to 30, you have all 6 passive skills. You got 6 stars. The stars, you know, the 6 stars will grow as you're leveling them up. Then you'll have 6 stars. When you first go to level them up and they're at level 1, you'll see it has 0 stars. And then as you unlock each passive skill, leveling them up to 30, you'll see the 6 stars eventually pop up. And they're just going to tell you at a glance, you know, what kind of skills you're looking at on your guys. So pretty easy breezy. I bet you're understanding a million times more already about how this works and what you're looking at to begin with on these guys, you know, just from a glance. Now you can tell from these icons over here, just when you're looking at the icons alone, now you understand most of it, right? We understand that purple flag at the corner, that means he's aberrant. No purple flag means non-aberrant. We know what the stars mean, that those are related to the passive skills, and we know the active skill is here. We know right now that we have attributes, and we know that depending on if he is common, they'll always be below 70. If he is legendary, they can be above 170, right? If he is gold, you'll see that these are below 170, right? They're between that 120, but not to 170. Then you go to these guys, and you'll see that all his skills are going to be below 120. Pretty easy. All his attributes, I mean, the numbers in the boxes. That's how it works. The legendaries, you can get those high ones. But why does it matter? Why does it matter if he's a 170 or if he's a, you know, a 163 in resilience? Now we're going to find out why those attributes actually matter at all, really. They only really do a couple things for you, okay? One of the most important things is we're going into talking about traits. So we're looking at skills and traits. So now we understand skills. We understand the active skill, how that works. The species determines your active skill. It's going to be the same for anything of that species. Now we have our passive skills, and we talked about what those are. And when you're talking about advanced skills, it is your passive skills. It's not any different. So when they say advanced skills, all they mean is you've taken your passive skills from the base level of blue, okay, and you've upped them to a gold, or you've upped them to the legendary. That's all it means, the advanced skills. So you take your passive, you make it advanced. So we'll talk about how you do that, but that's all that they're talking about. So your passive skills have those 3 levels, the magic, rare, and legendary, right? We just went over that. We know that the more advanced that is, the better they help you. We know that when you first get them, they just have their active, and you got to level them up to unlock their passive. So now you know that. Now let's move into traits. So remember that row that's underneath their level bar? That is our traits row. So the traits are only going to become available once your familiar reaches a level 30. So once you get them leveled up to 30, it's going to unlock the traits. Now traits are easier. There's only 2. They're either going to be common or they're going to be advanced. If they are common, they are gold. If they are advanced, they are orange. Common and advanced. That's the colors of your trait boxes. Advanced traits, they have an orange icon. So if we look here and we look at our traits, we see traits right here, right guys? traits overview, correct? And we've got, you see his first trait is orange, and his other 2 traits are gold. So we have common traits and we have advanced traits. That's our only 2 colors that we can have. What do they mean? What does it all mean? We'll see. We'll see. And you'll see how it ties to the attributes. The traits and attributes, that's where it links together, okay? That's the only reason you care about the numbers at all that are in your attributes. Why do we care? Why do we care about these number ranges? What are they for? Why do I care? Now we find out why we care. Because they link to our traits. And this poor guy, he cannot use his advanced trait right now. Can't use it. It's locked. You know why it's locked? Because as you see on here, it requires resilience. See the little triangle requires triangle 170 on this main one, our orange one down here, our advanced trait. I need resilience to be 170 to use that trait. One special thing too is there's only a few traits. So when you go back to your main screen, underneath your companion and your bonds, you see your trait guide. There are 11 traits you can possibly have. The familiars, whatever of any species, they can end up with any or all of these traits, right up to 6 of them each. So there are 11 possible, and it can have 6 of 11 traits. Each one, that's the max possible you can end up with on one. You see this legendary one of mine right now has the 3 traits. So what are the traits? So if you go to the traits guide, here's the 11 that you may have amongst the familiars you possess. If you have them attached to one familiar and they're currently active, you will see them lit up when you click on their traits guide, which is at the bottom of your main screen, at the bottom of your bonded familiars, that traits guide. So there's 11 here, and it's lit up depending on what's active. You see, he's got Maim as his first one, that orange one, but I don't have it activated, so it's grayed out right here. But, if you go to that, it shows you that if you have it at the common, the gold level, that it increases your critical hit chance by 1%. That's what it's doing for you, being your bonded familiars trait or your companion familiars trait, right? They're helping you. All your familiars, they're using their main active skill on your behalf. They're using their passive skills on your behalf when they're together with you like this, and you have them bonded or as your companion. So the common traits, these gold ones, they can't stack up. If they're gold, it's only going to be that one familiar's giving you that at a time from its thing, right? He's just going to be helping you out. If it's orange, it's neat because when it's orange, not only do you get the higher level help, so he's going to increase your critical hit chance by 1%. However, the next rank, the effect's going to increase +1, and that's going to increase your critical hit chance by 3%. So now I may be asking, like, what is that? How do we rank up our traits? What does that mean? Like, if we're, ranking up? Well, you can stack these now. So before, if you have just a gold, it's only going to do what it says it's going to do on that line. It's not going to combine and add and grow and build, but the orange ones will. And we'll talk about how that works when they're on different species. So just remember, that's another interesting thing, is the more creatures possess that same Maim skill that's orange, that means it stacks up and starts building. So when it says next rank, that means if you have a second one that's orange like that, your Maim skill, and this other guy's got it too, of a different species. They have to be of different species for it to stack. Can't be 2 Quakestriders with a Maim skill that's orange. Those aren't going to stack. It's got to be different species lined up here but they have that same skill that's orange. Now they're going to stack. So that means if you have one more, it's going to +1 and increase your critical hit chance by 3 additional %. So for every guy here that's got the orange Maim skill that's going to stack on each other and power it up, basically, you're going to get that 3% increase of critical hit chance. So that's why it's better. And they say before, the traits, having the better traits. You have more power, that's what it means. If you have gold, you only get the 1% increase. But if you have this orange, now you're going to, for each additional one, you're going to end up with that 3%. So you can see there's 11. And these are the top 8 here: Maim, Finesse, Fiendish Haste, Prescience, Survival Instinct, Bestial Might, Decimate, and Steadfast. Those are just your standard traits, right? Those are just regular traits. These bottom three, they'll come up in purple if you have them on your creature. You see how he's got this purple guy right here on his traits? Like, well, this one has Maim, he's got Finesse, and he's got Bestial Might, my main legendary guy here. Those are the three he's got. But you go down here to like Bramblestalker, and you see that he's got the Hand, which is the pre-science trait. So he's reducing damage from other players by 1% for me, because that is active, right? We see that's active and it's gold, so that's what he's doing for me by hanging out with me. But he's also doing something else for me, isn't he? He's got a purple trait. He's got one of the utility traits. So we refer to these three on the bottom: Salvager, Appraiser, and Pack Mule. Those are our utility traits. They show up in purple on your little guy. Those are, a lot of people want these. This is the coveted traits. I'll show you how to make familiars with these. Stick with me. We're going to learn how. And you'll be able to get these if you do what I say and follow this along, right? Now you're learning. You've learned so much already. You still have so much more to learn, but you're going to learn it and it's going to sink in, right? This stuff by the end of the tutorial is going to feel the same to you as knowing now that Quakestriders, their active skill is always going to be a sand vortex, right? And how that works. All those little things that I've built and taught you now, and we're building in this. We're getting up to how to do all these major things, but we got to know these base level things to make it all make sense. So I hope now it's all starting to come to you. I hope now when you're looking at your icons in the corner that everything's making sense right now, right? As far as our traits go, at least. You may still say, what are those crossed swords on your primary legendary? Oh, you'll know all about those in a few minutes. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Right now, we're just talking about traits. We got these 8 regular ones, right? Our 8 regular traits. And then we have our 3 utility traits. Salvage, the Salvager, he lets you remote salvage. So what does that look like? If I have stuff in my pack and I click it, I don't have any low level stuff, but if I did, if I had like blues and the normal stuff when you click salvage at the blacksmith to salvage, I could click him. I could say salvage equipment, and all the, you know, blue equipment and the gold equipment would all pop up here, and I could hit salvage. My little creature would blank out of existence, go into a portal thing, and when he comes back, all it's gone. He salvaged it all for me, and I haven't had to go to a blacksmith. We also have remote identify. So if I had unidentified equipment, I would click identify equipment. I would select the equipment, identify, and my little guy is going to remotely identify. I don't have to go to the identifier. He's going to identify it for me. That's what that means. That's with those remote skills. And then they also have, as their traits guide here, they have that pack mule. So that just allows you remote armory management. You can access your armory from anywhere you are in the game and do those things. So those are our 3 utility traits because they're helpful for us, right? Like electricity, water in the game, right? The utilities. So these are salvage, identify, or access your armory. The other ones just stack and help you out in increasing how much your familiar is helping you. And there's a traits overview to the side, and it tells you what each trait does. You know, finesse, and you can see who's granting it if it's activated. See, this one's not activated, so there's no name of any of my familiars. But when I click finesse, it's active. It's lit up in gold on here, and it tells you that it's my orange, my legendary Aberrant Quakestrider, right? That is giving me finesse. Right, that's where I'm getting it from. I'm getting Bestial Might that's activated. I'm getting that from my Aberrant Quakestrider, as well as my little Bramblestalker guy. See how little Bramble guy down here? He's got his Beast Might at the bottom as one of his 3 traits that he's carrying, right? So 2 of them are giving me that. They're not stacking because they're gold. That's okay. They're individually helping me with that on their own. Now we have pre-science. That one's lit up. It's a Bramblestalker. It's giving that. Both of them. See how both of these gold Bramblestalkers are giving me that? So that's just damage taken. It's reducing damage from other players by 1%. And my Steadfast is activated. And it shows you that for my bonded familiar, it's the Bramblestalker. Down here, that's giving me my Steadfast. You can see it right there in that 3rd trait that the bottom guy's got right there. You see that? And then the other ones, of course, are not active. So I don't have those, but you can go through and see what those mean and read your traits overview to understand what each of your traits are. But that's how it works. That's how you know what's active. You see it on the bottom of your familiars. And we'll continue because we have to go deeper into this to understand, right? Everything that we got to finish understanding. So now when we look at this, skills and traits, now we understand on skills, they have their own active skill per species. that those 6 boxes are your passive skills that enhances the effect to level up your passive skills from blue to rare to legendary. The more developed it is, the stronger it is. Like we saw, the more developed it is, it eventually can stack once it's legendary and build into these bigger, more helpful skills. And, you know, first level familiars haven't been leveled up. They just have their active, but no passives. Got to get them up to 30 to unlock all 6 passives. And now we know about traits, right? That there's 11 possible traits. Yours can have a maximum of 6. And they're all going to become available once you reach level 30. We got the 2 categories, the common, the gold ones, and the advanced, the legendary. So now we understand all this we did not understand before. And the common traits, that gold icon, they apply only to the familiar on which they appear. They do not stack. Advanced traits have that orange icon. These traits stack when the bonded and companion familiars are distinct and unique species from each other. So when they stack, if your main guy, your main companion, boom, at the top, your main companion has it, and now you bonded some other ones and they have that exact same gold one, and they're different species from the top guy. It's like a Duskprowler maybe, and you're bonded, and a, you know, Stormbolt guy, you know, those things down there. And they have that orange mame, just like your companion at the top. Bam, you're going to stack. Stack, 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 stack that orange. Boom. Only if they're unique from each other. They can't be the same species. It can't be 2 Quakestriders. Won't work. Got to be a different species from your companion. Easy breezy now, right? We're learning everything. Attributes. And we discussed this. Those 4 attributes. That's all it's talking about. Ferocity, agility, insight, resilience. A familiar's attributes can be improved through empowering them initially. Then you can exchange attributes at the familiar vendor to swap attributes between 2 of the same species. So do you remember on my Quakestrider? My Quakestrider here, when we go to his little details, he has got this trait that we can't use because it requires 170 on the resilience. So what can we do? Like, what are we going to do? Because now we don't have 170 there. Well, what we can do is we can work through conversion to possibly create another legendary Quakestrider who actually has that 170 on the bottom. But I like the traits this Quakestrider has. I like my passive skills this Quakestrider has. I don't want to mess those up by, you know, now trying to convert my legendaries, right? Which I could convert that. We'll talk all about that and all the special details, or I could go an easier route. I could look in the market and surveil the market, and I'm going to be looking for a Quakestrider for sale that has 170, and that's going to cost me a fortune. It's going to cost me thousands and thousands of platinum to buy him. But if I really want to unlock my main skill, I might buy that one with 170. And if that's what I'm doing, or I've made one, poof, I've accidentally made one, it's 170, right? I like all the stuff this guy's got. I don't want to mess with anything else. I just want that 170 because it's the only rare trait that or like legendary trait that I've got, right? Advanced trait. Common traits are gold, advanced traits are orange. It's the only advanced trait he's got, and it's requiring it has to be resiliency. No problem. If I find another one, make another one, whatever, and all I want to do is pull the attribute over, real simple. I go here. I go to the attribute exchange. And it would show me we've got my main legendary guy where he's got that triangle, right? His resilience is 163, and I would select him. I wish this other Quakestrider was legendary and that he had that 170, but he doesn't. But just for demonstration, what this is going to do is it would allow me, if I had just bought one, and we'll pretend that my guy on the right has my resiliency at the bottom of 170, that I really need to make that one skill work. All I would do would be select those 2 from my list in the attribute exchange. Then I would click this center. It's going to swap the attributes only, you know, between them is what it would do when I do that. So, I mean, really, that's all you got here. That's all the attribute exchange does, and that's why it's there. It's just for people who have those skills that they can't unlock, and they have their legendary and they found, you know, another one they've gotten, it has the attribute in the right category to unlock. And you see this other one on the right here, he doesn't even have any advanced. traits. His are just gold, a gold one, and then one of those utility traits. So they're not advanced. They're not orange. So it doesn't matter, you know, if I'm steal his 170, because he doesn't even have anything that I would be able to trigger with it anyway. So that's what all this would do. It would leave everything else the same. So your traits would be left alone and still belong to your first guy. Your skills would be left alone, not be, you know, changed. Nothing else is going to change. It's just going to slide these 4 from this one to this one. It's going to swap all 4. You can't swap individual ones in doing this. It's going to swap all 4. But that's fine, because for our first guy, he just needs resiliency at 170. He doesn't really have any requirements from those other categories that we need to activate anything, right? Everything else is working. That's the thing that's not working. So we would just exchange the attributes for 3,000 platinum. Boom. Now he's going to have a resilience of 170 and his rare skill, or his thing's going to work. That's all the attribute exchange is. That's why you care about the numbers beside these attributes. That's what they do for you, right? That's how that works. So now we actually understand, whereas first when we started this, and if I was to pull up the summoning guide and you took one look at this, you would not understand what the hell any of this meant at all, right? So I hope now that not only do you understand when you pull up the summoning guide that there's 9 categories of familiars, that they're damage or damage reduction or control, you know that they all have the same exact active skill for if they're that species. And now you understand why these numbers are important, right? Because we see that I needed the 170 on our Quakestrider on resilience, and you see the maximum that maxes can possibly have at the best legendary ever. It can have 180 resilience. That's the maximum it can ever have. And that helps you, because if you're looking, you know, for a certain rare, you know, skill or, you know, advanced trait, and you're trying to unlock that advanced trait, like now you see why it matters that you know what the ranges might be for this creature. Because if it's saying it needs a one that's 200, you know, you're going to have to find a Stormlost that has agility of 200, or you're going to have to make one, and you're waiting until you see agility at 200, then you can go swap attributes. And now you can activate the skill that required a 200 agility, the trait that was requiring that from your guy. And now you can go get it. You know how to do that, how to obtain that. So now that whole chart makes sense to us. We know the species, the active skills, and we understand basically that we have 4 attributes: and ferocity, agility, insight, and resilience. And we understand why the attributes matter to us now. They do matter because now you know that some of these things, to use your traits, you gotta have a certain attribute skill leveled up. So we're going to continue on. You're going to learn how to do these most important of things. There is a lot to familiars, I know. Stick with me. I know this is long. I know this is hard, but this is an in-depth tutorial to make you a master at familiars, and you're about to be. You already know everything from here. Now you understand every single thing that's here in skills and traits and how to work it all. Now we're going to look at what's the difference between melding and conversion. And here's where you're going to hate yourself sometimes, potentially, because you probably wasted a lot of familiars melding them and you had no idea what you were doing. You didn't understand. But now you understand everything you need to know to understand the difference between melding and conversion. And we're getting closer to the end, guys, and you're about to be a master. Melding, here's what we're doing when we meld. When we meld, we're going to take 2 ordinary familiars, and we can meld them once they're 30. And what that's going to do is make a singular new level 30 familiar. Okay? He's going to inherit his species from one of the 2 familiars that you chose. He's not going to be a random other species. He'll be, if you choose a Quakestrider and you choose a Varog, what you're going to get is either a Quakestrider or Varog. That's what you're going to get. It inherits its attributes. So those attribute categories, it's only you're gonna inherit one of the 2 that you're melding. You're gonna get their attribute numbers. You're not gonna get some other new set of numbers. You're gonna get the same attribute numbers of one of the guys you're melding. You're gonna get traits and skills from those 2 that you're melding. So if you're melding those 2 together, you have the potential to end up with a combination of traits. You see how my guys on the side, they may have had 3 traits each, 2 traits each. So if I needed to stack traits and I wanted to add traits, and I wanted to increase those traits, I could potentially meld them together. And maybe now, instead of 2 traits on each one, maybe now they've combined and I've got a 3 trait familiar, or I've got a 4 trait familiar Got it? So those traits will come from what they have, and you're not going to get random traits. You're going to end up with a mixture of the traits they already have. The guys you're already melding, the traits you end up with, the trait set of this new level 30 familiar from melding those two is going to be a combination of what they've already got. And then the skills as well. The skills, their active skill, of course, is going to come from, is it going to pop up and be a Varog? Is it going to be a Quakestrider? If you're mixing those two together, you're going to get one or the other. So you're going to get your Sand Vortex, or you're going to get Forest Wrath as your active skill. That's what you're going to get, depending on which one it settles out into being when you do that. The new familiar, it's going to have, this is one of the reasons why you want to meld. This is pretty much, besides combining traits and maybe getting a familiar with more traits, so you can finally get one with 6, and that's how you're going to do it. That's fine. That's one strategy to add up traits to get the max 6 on your familiar by combining traits of the other guys. The new familiar is going to have 6 passive skills. This is why we mostly do familiar melding, because you don't like the skills that this guy has, right? Your Quakestrider. Like, dang it, I wish he had some different skills, some different passive skills. I want some of the passive skills that this Varog has. That's what I want. But I also want some that the Quakestrider has. So how am I going to make a creature that's got passive skills from my Varog that I've already got and from the Quakestrider I already got? So that's when you meld. So if you meld those two together, you're going to end up with a choice. It's going to show you the 12 options out of the 6 passive skills Varog has, the 6 passive skills your Quakestrider has. It's going to let you choose out of those 12 which 6 you want this new familiar you've made to have. So now you can choose the ones you want, and you can combine them. So if you've got one that's got some legendary skills and you got another one's got legendary skills, you want to do that. You want to make sure that you get all 6 of your skills legendary on there, because you got 3 on one and 3 on the other. You could meld those two guys together and get a mixture of their traits at random. You can make sure it's the same species if you like your active skill by making sure it's, you know, the 2 Quakestriders. So you could take the 2 Quakestriders and you could meld those guys together, and you can get, you know, their skills. You can pick which of the 12 that they've got that you want. Now, that's mostly your reason for melding. You don't like your skills, you want to increase them, right? You want to increase how many traits it has, maybe. So the new familiar skill qualities is going to be, it's going to mirror the melded familiar with the greatest number of rare skills. Okay. So when you make this new familiar, if the Varog has 4 blue skills, 4 magic skills, and it's got 2 legendary skills, then the new thing that you make, if that Varog, that was the highest, you know, your Quakestrider skills were like magic and then rare, right? You got like 2 rare on there, the yellow ones, and 4 magic on your one creature, but on your other creature you got 2 legendary and 4 magic. It will mirror that. You'll have at least 2 legendary and 4 magic. So whoever's got the highest skill upgraded there to legendary, that's out of those 2, you're going to get a mirror of that. That's going to be, you're guaranteed that the skills are going to be in that category. But here's one thing that's cool. Here's another reason to meld them. Say you have 2 creatures, right? And they all have the same number on their rare passive skills. So we don't have one that's got a greater number. It's equal. They both have 2 gold rare skills, and they each have 4 blue magic skills. When we meld these 2 together, the new familiar is going to trade one of those blue magic ones for a gold one because they match. So let's say that again. The skill qualities are going to mirror the familiar that you're melding to the other familiar. It's going to give you a mirror of the quality of skill of whoever has the highest. If they have the same number of rare passive skills, rare, gold, they must have at least gold passive skills. The new familiar is going to trade one of the blue ones and make it a gold one. So 2 gold on each one, 4 magic on each one. When you meld these 2 guys together, you know for sure that now you are going to get 3 legendary, okay, and 3 magic. That is how it works. When you meld them and they're the same species, this only applies if it's two Quakestriders you're melding together. Okay, so obviously he's going to be a Sand Vortex. This is active, and now you can pick and choose from his other skills, and maybe you actually can improve because you've got those, the matching gold and then blue and blue that match the number, and now you're going to get an extra gold and one less blue from your melded guy. But when they are the same species, the one that gets destroyed in the meld, where you don't get him, okay, if you have to be careful when you're melding. If you have one of those attributes to 170 like you want it, you do not want to meld it. Because when you meld it, you're going to take a chance that it's not going to preserve the familiar with that 170. It's going to destroy its attributes, and it's going to give you the other one with lesser attributes as the attribute category when you meld them. And the only compensation that you get for that happening to you is it gives you a +1 on that specific attribute as a bonus consolation prize. Like, yeah, you destroyed your attributes and it was 163 on this guy and you had 175 on this other guy. But you know what? We ended up with guy 1 with 163. So as a consolation prize, we're going to make his resilience for you 164. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. Now, I hope I haven't lost you, because now we're getting the most important part. So why do we meld? We meld only to try and get the traits mixed together from the two that we're melding, and it's almost primarily just of those skills, right? We have 2 blue Quakestriders. They each have 2 gold and 4 magic ones. And we know if we meld these guys together, then we're going to get one guy that's got 3 of the golds and 3 of the magic skills. And that's what's going to happen. So that's kind of what you're doing, is you're upgrading the passive skill quality from blue to gold, that sort of thing. Okay. That is all melding does for you. It's not going to give you better passive skills unless you're following the guide here on how that would apply to that. So that is really the only reason you should be melding your familiars. You should not be melding them to try and get something better. You're never going to meld the familiars, and end up with an aberrant or something, okay? That is what conversion is for. So I'm sorry, and I do offer my consolation to those who have done that and wasted a bunch on melding, because what you wanted to do instead was you wanted to be converting. So this is conversion of ordinary familiars. These are the familiars without your purple flag. It doesn't matter if those are blue. It doesn't matter if those are gold. It doesn't matter. It matters not. Okay. So, if they have the flag, they're aberrant. If they don't have that purple flag, they're ordinary. So we're just talking about our ordinary non-purple flag guys right now. So ordinary familiars can participate in conversion once you've maxed them to level 30. This is going to take 3. So you're going to need 3 level 30 ordinary familiars. All right. And when you do this, it's going to swirl them all together. All right, and it's just going to randomly give you a new max level, like level 30 familiar. Why would you do that? Why would you throw 3 away? Because you can really get benefit from doing this. Because that new familiar that you've taken, those 3 blue ones that were just ordinary, no purple flag, you have a 30% chance when you convert those that the new one that you get is going to be aberrant. It's going to have the purple flag, and you'll see why this matters. So that's what we know right now, is that's why we'd want to convert 3 ordinary familiars, is because we have a 30% chance he's going to be aberrant. Or you really, really want one of those utility traits. You're like, dang it, I really want the salvage. I really want the remote identify, whatever it is you really, really want. That's why you would do this, because when you combine those 3 together, not only is there a 30% chance he'll be aberrant, but when you do that, you have a 10% chance that you're going to get one of those purple utility skills when you do it. So that's what happens when you convert. Now notice under melding, there's no chance that's going to happen because you're just messing with skills under melding. Now you're in conversion. In conversion is how you get your bigger, stronger. That's how I got my legendary guy, right? I converted him. I converted aberrants. We'll get into that. But right for now, That's how you take your ordinaries and you make them aberrants, because that's your goal. Make your ordinaries aberrants, because your ultimate goal is to convert these aberrants. Following me? Do we got it? Get it? Got it? Good. So now, I know a lot of you have been burned on conversions. Be careful on your conversions. All right. Just don't destroy things that you're gonna want to keep. Lock the ones you want to keep. Have them, locked. When I say have them locked, that is this. See this lock here by my Quakestrider? Now he is unlocked. Now he is locked. I cannot accidentally convert him. You see this guy? He's got my utility trait. I don't want to accidentally convert him. He's locked, so I don't do that. This guy, he's got those advanced skills that can stack, right? If I manage to get those traits or whatever from on my Quakestrider with messing with them. Okay, but I have him locked, and then I have this one locked. Why? He's my identifier. I don't want to accidentally screw him up. So that is why he's locked. So you can lock him. Lock him if you don't want to destroy him by accident. And then what we've got here is the skill quality of the new familiar. When you convert and it makes your new familiar, that's going to be influenced by the contributing familiar that's got the highest skill quality of the three, right? So if you have a familiar that's got, 3 gold ones and 3 blue ones on the passive skills, and then your other ones have like less than that, then the skill quality of the one you convert is going to be influenced most strongly and most likely going to be those 3 golds and 3 magic of the blue. Okay, so that's what it's saying. It's the skill quality when you combine all 3 is influenced by the familiar's highest, the one that has the highest skill qualities. Again, if the familiars have the same passive skills, it's not guaranteed, but it's much more likely that your new familiar that you're going to make has those same exact passive skills. And we're not talking about the quality. The quality is your blue or your rare gold or your legendary. So what we're talking about is the actual passive skills, which would be like concuss, lobber, bloodlust, those kind of things, what these passive skills could be. If they all 3 have the exact same set of 6, then it's much more likely when you convert that you're going to end up with that exact same set of 6 on your converted thing, right? With a 30% chance, you're going to make 3 ordinaries and aberrant, and a 10% chance, you're now going to take those 3 ordinaries and you're going to end up with one that has that utility trait that you really want. And so let's get into aberrant conversion. So why are we wanting aberrants? Why are we trying to do this? Why is this our whole goal? Because when we get to aberrants, these can also be converted once they're level 30. So we're going to convert 3 aberrant familiars to produce a new max level aberrant familiar at random. So if you take 3 blues and they're aberrants and you convert him, you could potentially end up with a gold, a rare one out of those 3 being converted. You can end up with a blue one, or you can end up with a legendary guy. You can end up with an orange one out of converting 3 blues. I think I had 3 gold aberrants that I converted and ended up with my legendary Quakestrider. So that's why it's important, because now this gives us a chance to make our legendary guys, is converting these aberrant familiars with the purple flags. Now we've made them through ordinary conversion. We have turned ordinaries into aberrants with purple flags. Now we have 3 of those saved up and we convert those. So when we do that, again, like the quality of the one you end up with, that's going to be influenced by whatever the highest skill quality is on the one you're converting. If the consumed familiars have those exact same 6 passive skills, all 3 of them, the new familiar is more likely to end up with that. So that sounds familiar to us, right? And if we use our conversion stones, when we convert, now we can save our lives. Now we can save ourselves. Have you made the mistake of taking 3 gold familiars and you meld them and you end up with the blue? Or not meld them, but convert them, and you end up with the blue when you convert them, and you're like, oh God, I just ruined everything. You don't have to go through that. You don't have to go through that disappointment. There's a way you can ensure that the worst thing that's going to happen when you convert those 3 gold aberrants is you're going to get another gold aberrant, and that's using conversion stones. So conversion stones not only can jump your skill quality of your final product, from, you know, blues to golds, or from golds to rare skills, and really boost that skill quality for you when you convert the aberrants. It also will ensure that the rarity of your familiar is not going to decrease on you. It's going to be at least a gold. If you have 3 golds, it's going to be at least a gold. You're not going to end up with a blue. So that's how the conversion stones protect you, is not only can they boost your skill quality and make them better quality skills, but they can also ensure that you don't end up dropping down to a blue aberrant or something, and you keep your gold. So that's going to result where in a familiar as well, when you're doing these, that has the attribute values of whichever the 3 familiars has the highest attribute values among the 3. Okay, as limited by the familiar species and type, right? So if one, now you care about that table again, right? Because we remember that some of those categories, like the one guy could go up to 200 on agility, but the other ones may only be able to go up to 120, that sort of thing. So that's what it's saying. That's why you care about that chart now when you're looking at it back and forth when you're converting these guys, is you're understanding that when you mix these 3 guys together, and you've used conversion stones, that what's going to happen is when it gets attribute values, it'll pick the attribute values from one of the 3, whichever the 3 has the highest ones, but it'll limit it, you know, obviously, if it pops up as a creature that's a different creature, it's only going to have be able to max out like 170 on that attribute. So if it was 200 on one of your guys, but this other one tends to have more higher ones overall, and you end up with their set, you may drop on that one because the familiar species you ended up with has a cap on how high that one can go. So just keep that in mind. The resulting familiar you get is going to have the attribute values of the familiar, the single familiar with the highest attribute values out of the 3 overall. But it's still limited by the species, you know, and the type of attribute. How high can that attribute go? And what species you ultimately end up with, where does it cap out, right? And then if any of the contributing familiars have an orange trait, okay, so if you're converting 3 and any of them have the orange on the trait, their trait, the new familiar is more likely to acquire those advanced traits. So it's more likely to acquire the gold traits that the 3 familiars that you're melding or that you're converting have gotten. So now we know the difference. Melding is if you're trying to work on skills, trying to like get a skill pairing together into one single one that you would rather have. If you have some that you want to just combine together that are lower level because you want to boost their skill quality, and you know, you want to go from, they each have 2 rare skills and 4 magics to 3 rare skills and 3 magics. That's the kind of reason why you'd meld, right? Now we know all the rules. We know with ordinaries why we want to convert now. That if we're converting, now we're trying to make that aberrants, and we're trying to get our utility traits by converting those guys. And then once we do make them aberrant, right, we can then do our aberrant conversion, and we can try and get our familiar to a legendary by converting like those, and we may boost our skills, and we may do those things that we just listed, right? So conversion stones, you're kind of like, wait a second, I don't know what the hell you're talking about with conversion stones. What do you mean? What do you mean? Conversion stones. So when you go in and you go to do a conversion, right, on a familiar, and it's an aberrant one, you can either pay 2,000 platinum to convert them, or you can add those conversion stones. And when you add your 2 conversion stones, it makes sure that you get improved skill quality out of it, and that if anything else, you don't end up with a lesser quality familiar. So you get those by ending packs with familiars. Okay, so say you went ahead and on some blue ones, you upgraded on purpose. You went ahead and melded them together because you tried to change like from, you know, you're not really going to use these guys, and your whole goal is you have these blue ones and you want to go ahead and combine them together to make their traits higher, and now you've managed to do some melding and you have one's got 6, you know, you've got 6 rare skills on it now, and you can convert it because maybe you've got 3 legendaries now, and you want to convert the legendaries to mix up, you know, some features about them and boost attributes and do stuff like that, but you don't want to lose your legendaries by converting, right? So what you would do is you could destroy like a blue one. You could end the pack with one of your blue ones that you've made through melding and stuff to have 6 legendary skills or whatever, or 6 rare skills. And because it has 6 rare skills, you're going to get 32 conversion stones for ending your pact with them. Because conversion stones, basically you get those based on how many rare and legendary skills the familiar that you're dismissing had. So if you do end up with a familiar and he's got, 1 gold or 1 legendary passive skill, but you're not going to use them and you end your pact, you're going to get a conversion stone. But if he's got 2 of those boxes lit up gold or legendary, now you're going to get 2 conversion stones. But if all 6 are, if I was to go crazy and end my pack with my main legendary guy he's got 2, legendary level passive skills and he's got 4 rare level passive skills, I'm going to get 32 conversion stones out of that. And it only takes 2 conversion stones. You only need 2 of them to protect your familiar when you do the conversion, the Aberrant Conversion. That's the only place their conversion stones are required or used is on the Aberrant conversions, but that does lock in that you're going to get an increased skill quality most likely, and it does lock in that you won't decrease your legendaries that you're converting together into gold or blue or some craziness. So it protects you. It protects the quality of your familiar and it makes better skills. And now, ladies and gentlemen, my warriors of Sanctuary, after this 1 hour intensive lecture and deep dive on familiars, you now know pretty much everything there is to know on familiars. However, there is something else that I promised I would show, and I probably should. Those double cross swords at the top of my main guy, right? That's the only icon I think I've left out of this whole thing. So when we look at those double cross swords, we see that we also have it aligned. It says defensive. So why do I like my familiars defensive? Well, I don't know, want them aggressive. So let's think of it like this. If you have your familiars aggressive, he's a rabid dog off the leash that you're walking. You cannot control who he's going to attack. He just runs off and he attacks anybody that he wants to that's in the area, any enemy that he chooses. He's going to run and attack them. So he's your rabid dog off the leash. He's running and attacking everyone everywhere and you have no control. If he's defensive, then he's your loyal guard dog. He is at your side. He is fighting the target that you are targeting at all times. He is not running off all willy-nilly on his own and attacking everything and all the other monsters all around. He's sticking with you. He's teamworking it. He's your loyal companion. Aggressive, your familiar's a rabid dog. Defensive, he's your loyal companion and fights at your side. That's all it means. In aggressive mode, the familiar actively seeks out enemies all around you and attacks them. Whereas in defensive mode, instead of actively seeking them out, he's just going to attack your current target. Rabid dog, loyal companion. I like a loyal companion. The rabid dog runs off and just leaves you to fight your own fight. He's triggering his active skill off on these other guys over there that you're not even worried about because they're way over there. They're not even bothering you. You want him to attack the person you're attacking and fight with you alongside you and trigger his active skills against the targets that you're actually working on. Have him in defensive so he works alongside you. And now I believe that you know everything there basically is to know about familiars. You know how to make them. You know how to work up to getting your legendaries. You know how to protect the ones when you're converting them. You know what the purple flags mean. You know ordinary. You know aberrant. You know what your attributes are and what those mean. You now know what all your traits mean. You know what your skills do, how to upgrade them, how to convert, how to meld, why you'd want to meld versus convert. So I worked really, really hard for everyone here because I really wanted to make sure that you understood it. And so now even everything's going to have a new meaning for you. If you go over here to the market and you're, because now you know what you're doing with familiars. So now you know if you wanted to buy one or you want to sell one, you can sell familiars for a lot of money. Say you've gotten really good at it. All yours are maxed out where you got it, but you're still really good at that. Why would you want to keep messing with familiars? Now you're maxed everybody out. Everybody's got all these, advanced traits. All their attributes are up and everybody's happy. You have these powerful legendaries all lined up along your side. And you're like, what else can I possibly do with familiars? You can make a butt ton of money is what you can do. So you can still make those, you can make familiars or you can buy them if you need to, if you have the platinum, but you go to the market in either way. when you go here and you go to familiars, before you probably were kind of like, as far as what to buy. Well, now if you're going here to buy, you know exactly what you're looking for because you need something. You're trying to get a trait from somebody. You're trying to meld skills. You're trying to do something, right? You're trying to do something by buying these. You're not just buying them willy-nilly for the heck of it. Now you have a goal because you know what you're doing. So all you would have to do on here if you're doing something like that, which is really, really nice, is you see there's all the different ones, right? If you're looking for a specific familiar type, of course you'd click on that one, but we'll just go to all familiars for the heck of it because now we know what all this means. When we look at the Varog, we see he's got Forest Wrath, we see our Bramblestalker's got his main active skill, we see our passive skills lined up, we see what traits these guys have. You know, we see these are blue, so we know their lowest level. We see at the top, right, of each row of our passive skills, we see what all those different attributes, right? We see our resilience here is 26, right, on this top Varog guy. I don't know if you want to spend 894 platinum for this dude. What are you doing? Why would you do that, right? However, there's 142 pages of these guys. These aren't the only ones available, right? There's 142 pages. So do you want to go through 142 pages to find what you're looking for? No. So you go to select and you could do it here. Are you looking for an aberrant? Because he could carry, if they're aberrant, they might have legendary skills hidden inside them, right? That's one of the things about the aberrants, right? Why they have that purple flag is it says, hello, I could produce legendary skills if you convert me. If you convert me with other aberrants, we can pop out some legendary skills for you just by converting us. Offers a chance. Conversion offers a chance at improved skills versus ordinary familiars. They could carry either the gold or the blue passive skills. But if you meld them together, you could empower the rarity of the skills they have through melding them, just like we learned. But if you're just looking for aberrants today because you're like, man, I need an aberrant because I need to do this conversion because I'm trying to get this thing done and I want to make sure it's a Quakestrider. So now I need an aberrant Quakestrider. And I also, because when I do this, the one that I have, or the two that I have already have the MAME, you know, already have my advanced MAME in gold. I want to make sure that the other one I convert with them also has this same thing because I don't want to lose it. I want to make sure I keep my gold MAME because all three of my Quakestriders that I'm going to convert, I have two of them now and they both have this gold MAME and they both, you know, have these things. So I need to find a third one so that I can convert these and try and make them a legendary now that I have these gold that have this. Then you could choose, like pick and choose that. Or you're like, oh man, I want to make sure these guys both have legendary Razor Claw. So I want to make sure that it keeps a legendary Razor Claw. They all three have it. Then you could look like that and you could press OK. And it's going to filter your whole list and it's going to give you that, right? Right now it doesn't have that. So if that's what you're looking for, you'd be out of luck, right? But that's how these search things work. Or you could just say, okay, I just want to make sure that it's an aberrant Quakestrider. And there we go. Now your list is filtered. You only have aberrant Quakestriders. So based off what you know, based off what I've taught you today, if you were going to the market and you were going to purchase one of these guys and you looked at these things and you're like, which one are you going to buy? Which one has the highest actual value? Because sometimes in the market, the ones that are priced the most, this one right here seems to be in alignment for the most part. But why would you pay 4,768 platinum for Quakestrider number 3 compared to the first one on the list, 2,783? Why would you pay that much more? They have the exact same trait, the exact same quality. They have the exact same number of rare skills. They have the exact same number of magic skills, right? Their categories here, close as far as their attributes. So you would spend 2,783 if that's what you're looking for. You would not spend 4,768. That would be a waste of your platinum. Now you know how to even go through these guys and figure that out. But which of these would you really want? You wouldn't, if you were really going to buy these and, you know, you look over here, he's already got the last one on the list. He's already got legendary, rare, magic. And then if you look at his traits, he's got advanced, right? He's got an advanced trait. You go to the next page, you look at these and you're like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. But then you see this guy down here. Look what's happened. He's got the very last one, 16,000 platinum because he's got aberrant, right? He has got his skills leveled up where he only has one blue magic skill left. Now his stuff is low as far as his attributes, but he's got these 4 legendary, he's got the rare, and look, he's already got 4 traits out of the 6. So he's got 4 traits, and one of them is advanced. So you can see why he's worth so much more money and why his seller is pricing him so high, because of the value that you're getting in the skills. If you decide to convert him, you know, with another couple blue guys, you're really increasing these odds here, right? Because remember, the skill level aligns with your highest level that you're converting. So if you had 2 Quakestriders that had all blue, and then you've got this guy that you're bringing into the conversion and that aberrant mix, what are you going to do for your skill quality just by adding him in? What are you going to do with your traits? But just by adding him in, you mix all the traits. You could end up with the 6 trait legendary familiar or something. So, you know, he might be worth it if you have that kind of platinum. Or maybe you're making them and you want to know how to price them, so you can look on the market and you can see what people are pricing them. 43,498 for him. He is a gold. He is an aberrant. He's got these. So the only time someone would pay that kind of money is if they really, really had some trait or something that they needed this 162 or 122, you know, those kinds of things for. But if you look at him overall, he's not that great, is he? He's not. He's gold. He's got 5 rare skills and he's got 2 common traits. Why would you pay 43,000 for him? Why? What would be your motivation to do such a thing? But you can see how much they sell for. And people who don't know what they're doing sometimes will buy these for like crazy amounts of money. My husband sold one for 16,000 because we made him and it had an armory trait and he didn't want the armory utility trait. We sold him for 16,000. So I know this is a very long tutorial. It was very in-depth. I will try and timestamp it if I can on the areas to help people out, but I really hope that this has helped you. I really hope now when you run around in the game that you know exactly what you're doing. Don't knock my familiars the way they are, guys. I spent a long time making huge mistakes myself, trying to figure all this out, trying to understand it. And I finally got to the point where I'm like, man, I really understand this well enough where I now can give a tutorial and teach people how to do this. And I know my guys have struggled with this the most. Everybody struggles with this. My husband does not understand the familiars yet either. He works a lot and he doesn't have time to break it down like I do. So now this will be available on YouTube forever, and I apologize for my hiatus. I was getting married, setting up house, but this wraps it up for us, Warriors of Sanctuary. If you stuck with me for the whole hour and 20 minutes, congratulations. You're a certified familiar expert. You're going to rock your familiars. You're going to be able to teach other people in your clans, and you're going to know what you're doing. You're not going to waste your stuff. And then remember, once you get all your familiars, now you have a major source of making platinum. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So once you max yours out and you got everybody and you're the expert king of making familiars now, or queen, now you can go sell them on the market and make 16K platinum a pop, 43K platinum a pop for these awesome ones that you've made. So you're welcome. And I hope this helps you. I hope you make great familiars. And I hope someday as you play the game, all your familiars are legendary. They're maxed out. You're rocking it. It's really helping you out. And you're making a ton of platinum because you're able to sell the ones that you've really rocked out. Because now you're a familiar master, certified. You've finished my training course, Familiars for Dummies. No, none of you guys are dummies. They're just really confusing. So now you finished that. And congratulations, certified masters. You now have mastered familiars, and moving forward, you're going to rock them. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. If you have tips and advice along the way and you know something that I didn't bring up in here somehow and you've learned something or you know something, please drop that in the comments. Help everybody out. That's what this channel is. That's the spirit of it. I don't want to be all over live streams all the time. I tried that for a minute just to get the channel more notoriety, but I really didn't like it. I don't like doing that. This is a tutorial channel. I originally made it to help players on my team to just have a place to store the bigger screen recording videos, because I was playing a game that was really complicated to explain things in texting, and I was the clan leader basically on that. thing as well. And I was constantly just spending so much time answering the same question. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a screen recording of step by step how to do this thing. I'm going to throw it on a YouTube channel. It's like a public access so that anybody from my kingdom or anybody from here can go and just see the video and learn how to do this really complicated thing. And if someone asks me, how do I do that? I can be like, oh, you know what? There's a video on my YouTube. That is all I have to say. Go watch the video on my YouTube, and I never have to type it out and explain it again. And that's what I made the channel for. I just want to help people. I want to teach them. I'm not trying to be YouTube famous on Mistress Yoda. I just want to help. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, you know, please let me know if there's another topic you're really struggling with. This game is so huge that, to be honest, there are a few finite areas where I have not gotten those down yet. But I can help with a lot of the other stuff. I play a lot of the other stuff regularly, so let me know. So goodbye, Warriors of Sanctuary, and thank you for sticking with me and becoming your team. You've become your clan's familiar expert. Congratulations. And I'll see you on another tutorial soon. Thanks, guys.